So you guys know the drill by now. Whenever we make a news-related video, it's about something that really catches the attention of the Dragon Ball community. And for today's video, it is to talk about Bulma's new ass, yes, you heard that correctly, and also Piccolo's new form. But we're gonna start off with the ass. So apparently I was on Discord and one of my friends sent me a message saying that Bulma made 2 wishes with the Dragon Balls. One of them was to wish for better looks, and the other one was to wish for a nicer, firmer ass. Now, I couldn't believe that at first, because that sounds ridiculous, but then when you think about it, it shouldn't be shocking at all, because Dragon Ball started off mostly as a gag-related anime manga series, and when you consider the fact that there have been a multitude of silly wishes that have been made with the Dragon Balls, it actually makes perfect Dragon Ball sense for Bulma to do this. And if you go back to Dragon Ball Super Broly and you remember what Frieza and what Bulma wanted in those movies, then you can see that even going back then, people wanted to use the Dragon Ball for selfish reasons. I mean, for crying out loud, the very first wish that Bulma wanted to make with the Dragon Balls was to find a boyfriend, which she kind of indirectly did anyways by finding Yamcha. And then, Oolong wished for a pair of panties. So going throughout Dragon Ball history, I think that this is probably the funniest wish I think we could probably ever agree on in the Dragon Ball franchise, guys. I mean, because that's a very, very, very specific thing that Bulma wished for. And when you consider that the Dragon Ball community has a little bit of a fascination with the cougar-like, MILF-thick Bulma, I'm trying very, very, very hard not to cross the line with maturity in this video, but you guys are getting where I'm coming from. This is going to make the darker side of the Dragon Ball community very excited to create very mature and I guess you could say interesting scenarios with Bulma with a new and improved body part, if you can read between all the lines that I'm trying not to say for sensory purposes. But you can read where I'm going with this, guys. The horny side of the Dragon Ball community is going to have a lot of fun with this wish that has recently been made. We're going to move on to the second part of this, guys, where we're going to talk about Piccolo's new form. Now, it's been revealed also that with the third wish, because Dende upgraded the Dragon Balls to make 3 wishes, that Piccolo is going to use the third wish to basically have this new form that we see in this new Dragon Ball Super movie. And to be completely honest with you guys, I don't like it, but at the same time, as a Dragon Ball fan, I kind of have a gun to my head when it comes to Piccolo, because when it comes to Piccolo, he's a Namekian, and if there was a new form that he could get, he would have gotten it naturally by now. So, whenever I first heard that Piccolo would get a new transformation, it kind of doesn't make sense, because Namekians don't really get new transformations. You have that whole Kaiju Super Namekian form where they get huge, and then you have them fusing with each other, but other than fusing and getting really big, they don't really have forms. So it actually kind of makes sense for Piccolo to use the Dragon Balls to get a new form, because Namekians don't get new forms. That's just, they're not Saiyans, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not happy that he had to make a wish to get the form, but at the same time, there was no other way, and as a Piccolo fan, anything new that's good for his character is great. However, we must also talk about a bigger thing that's kind of going on in the Dragon Ball community, and this is more so dealing with the Dragon Ball manga. And for those of you who obviously know, Gas and Granola both made wishes throughout that arc to wish to be the strongest characters in the universe. Now, if you think about it from that point of view, Dragon Ball's kind of going into a direction that I don't really like. When you make it for something gag, like, okay, Bulma wants to have a nicer ass, or, this character wants to grow taller, and so on and so forth, that's funny. But now, when you can just ask the dragon, even though it wasn't, Porungo or Shenron, it was Torunbo, but when you can just ask a dragon to just make you stronger than everybody else, it kind of just breaks the whole consistency of the show, because it's like, well, if it's that easy, then why don't other people do this? You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're just using the Dragon Balls to just use a cheat code to multiply your powers, it just takes out a lot of the tension of the series itself. And the other thing about it, too, is that when you look at it, guys, a lot of Dragon Ball characters from the very beginning have worked very hard to get to where they are in power. So when a character just wishes to be stronger, it's like, but it just doesn't feel right. Because you're basically admitting that no other characters can compete with the characters we currently have, but that's bullshit because Moro was a character that was able to compete with the stronger characters that we have now. Broly was able to compete with the stronger characters that we have now, and we have entire universes to explore with an entire multiverse of very strong characters that can create tension and fight against the characters we currently have because Goku and Vegeta don't have full mastery over Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct. So I feel like it's very unnecessary to go in this direction of having to force villains or even heroes to use wishes to just get stronger, because it's creating a domino effect where now all of these other characters are just gonna say, hey, I'm feeling pretty weak, why don't I just make a wish to just get as strong as I need to? You know what I'm saying? It's just taking out a lot of the excitement of the franchise itself. Even though I will admit to you guys, despite all of these silly things that we've talked about in today's video, I gotta be honest that this is still probably my most anticipated Dragon Ball movie in a really long time, and the main reason for this is because when you think about it, Dragon Ball fans have always wanted a movie that doesn't just feature all of the main characters, where the side characters can get more shine, where you can have a more unique plot, and I feel like even though Cell is a reused character, this movie is doing that. But at the same time though, people don't know what they want because a lot of people are losing interest because Goku and Vegeta aren't having as big of a role. So because of all of that, it's like, what do you want? Do you want a movie that features other characters and has a completely original and different plot? Or do you just want to go with the traditional formula of Goku and Vegeta are the only two people that can fight against the main villain and everybody just has to basically sit on the sideline and just watch? Like what we saw in Resurrection F, like what we saw in Battle of Gods to a lesser degree, and what we saw in Dragon Ball Super Broly. It all depends on what poison you want to pick. The thing about Resurrection F was that the other characters at least could fight the henchmen to have some involvement in the plot. But in a movie like, you know, Dragon Ball Super Broly, I mean, it was basically just Goku and Vegeta. So honestly, it all depends on what you want on the franchise itself. But so far, I'm still really looking forward to this movie. I think that the wish for Bulma is funny. I think that Piccolo's wish is cheap. But, you know what? You gotta kind of take your poison when it comes to a character like Piccolo, where at least the writers are showing respect that Namekians won't naturally just get some new type of transformation.